Hi, welcome to our webinar on business model innovation. My name is Daniela Marta. I'm managing partner at E&D Knowledge Consulting, and for the last 15 years, I've been working with startups and established companies, providing support and consulting in the different phases of their stage development. Even though this is a webinar specially addressed for established companies, any entrepreneur or startup owner, staff member from a startup company is more than welcome to attend, as you can learn here some lessons that you can apply in the future for your own companies. So our webinar is structured according to the following. First of all, we are going to provide some framework for our discussion, recalling some of the concepts and discussions that we presented in the module of our training course about business model for internationalization. Then we will discuss some of the main challenges for the established companies when innovating their business models, challenges like risk and uncertainty, complexity, learning process, tips and then provide you finally some tips and recommendations to help you in the development of your business model innovation. So let's start with some framework for our discussion and recalling some of the concepts that we have discussed it on our module. But first of all, let's clarify what business model innovation means and stands for. Business model innovation, yes, it can refer to the business model you develop for the launch of an innovation you develop inside your company. Something specific, let's say you develop a disruptive product and it requires a new business model for the launching in the market to adjust to your business model. But in the scope of our discussion here, when we talk about business model, we can either be talking about the change of the business model to accommodate the innovation on your products or services, but we can be talking about redesigning your business model just to adapt your business to the current changes in the market. Um, so, what is the business model? Let's recall what we have presented in our module. Business model, especially if you are an established company, you might not be familiar with the concept, but the truth is you already have a business model in your company and you are already operating according to a business model, because a business model is not more than all the elements that you put together so that your business actually works. It's all about all the resources, all the process, skills, competences, activities that your business requires for you to produce the goods that you will deliver to your customers and for which your customers will pay for. So, in other words, it's all about creating value, meaning your goods, your product or service. It's deliver the value to your customers and capture value from your customers to your company, meaning what your customers pay for your goods. But also, business model is a complex system of interconnections. It means that all the different components of your business model are highly related. If this doesn't happen, something wrong is happening with your business. And that's why business model is so interesting, such an interesting tool to help you think about your business and make you more effective, more sustainable, and more innovative. We have also talked about the business model canvas. Well, let's say that in the market there are several approaches and several techniques to discuss business models. Personally, I like to use the business model canvas. I think it's a very complete tool, very easy to use and allows entrepreneurs and business managers to have a perfect view of all the complete scenario that the business requires. More, as we discuss each module or each block of the business model canvas, it's very easy to think on each block on how it interacts with all the remaining blocks, and very important, how it interacts with the external forces in which your company operates, meaning what is happening in the market and how it affects your business. And this is very important. So if you remember properly, our business model canvas is composed by 9 blocks. At the center, we have our value proposition. The value proposition is, what are you offering a value to your customers? What are they paying for? What is your products and services that address the needs and desires and wishes of your customers? We call it customer pains. On the left side of the business model canvas, we have all the blocks that refer to all the activities, resources, process that your business requires to produce your value proposition, to create your value. And on the left side, you have all the resources, all the processes, and all the activities required to deliver value to your customers and to collect value for your own company. I have said at the beginning of this webinar that this is a webinar addressed to established companies. And there is a reason for this. There is clearly there is a difference between a startup company and an established company. But what is important to keep in mind for the purpose of this webinar, and when we are talking about business models, is the following differences between startups and established companies. Startups are still in a very initial phase of the business creation and design of their business models. So they are more on designing the assumptions of their businesses. They don't have the process established yet. They are highly focused on the development of their value proposition, on the study of their customer segments, and the connection established in their business model is a lot more between value proposition and customer segment. All the connections between the other blocks are still very fragile. So they are still considering and imagining, designing the assumptions for their business. And after designing these assumptions, then they go and test them on the market, or they start testing it as the time goes by, starting with piloting phasing, testing this acceptance of their products or services by their customer segment. Startups are also very flexible due to their small structure, their ability to respond to different tasks at the same time, different responsibilities, different functions, and a change in the market. It's very easy for a startup to adjust, and especially because their business model is still not consolidated, it's quite easy for them to adjust and adapt. While for established companies, this is not the same scenario as you probably know very well. So established company has already in place very established processes. All the connections between the components of the business model are already consolidated. There is a set of knowledge, processes, and routines that are already established, and this makes the company less flexible. A change in the environment requires a lot more changes inside all the company and in all the business model. And this change change is not as easy to implement as it is for a startup. So SMEs, established companies, are a little bit um, are less flexible than startup companies are. It is also possible that due to these established procedures and routines inside the companies, change may find obstacles. So that is something that if you want to innovate your business, there is something that you need to be aware and be careful with. But we will talk a little bit about that also. And it is very important also to understand that if you are going to innovate your own business, it is highly important that this innovation is aligned with the existing business because you need to take in consideration two options. Either your innovation is aligned, doesn't need to be perfectly aligned with your current business, but if it is aligned with your business, with your core business, then it makes sense to innovate your existing business model. If there is a difference between your innovation, the innovation you want to implement, and the current business model, the vision, the mission of the established company, maybe an option you should consider is the development and creation of a new business unit so that you don't compromise neither your new business, your new business model, nor the established business model. Let me go back a little bit and talk about the flexibility. Well, the good news about being less flexible than startups is that you are a lot more flexible as an SME than big corporations. And this means that SMEs are a lot more suitable to innovate than big companies are. Innovation is easier for SMEs to implement and to develop than big companies because big companies are even less flexible than SMEs. So if you are one of those managers or staff from an SME that thinks that innovation is out of your reach, that innovation is something just for big companies, think again because it is easier for you. And now we start talking about the main challenges. Well, I'm not sure if risk and uncertainty is the main challenge that cross your mind when you start thinking about innovating your business model, but I can assure you that the moment you start doing it, that will be the first thing you will think about. First of all, the options. There are so many options when you think about innovating your business model. Where to go? Which is the right path? So many opportunities. So it's always very difficult to know which way to go and which one is the right way. And one thing that I have seen in every single entrepreneur and business manager or staff that I have worked with is always the same question, but how do I know? How am I sure about this assumption I am taking? Well, you don't. We are designing assumptions. We will need to test them. But our job here is to be aware of this risk and to be aware of this uncertainty and prepare ourselves the best we can to deal with this. So we test, we research, we work for the worst and expect the best. We prepare as much possible as we can. And here are some tips on strategies that you can use to deal with your risk and uncertainty. But remember, there are no guarantees. We live in a market in constant change. More than ever, the market changes at such a fast pace, and so you need to be very careful and be very aware, very informed about the changes in the market and react fast. So, how to deal with risk and uncertainty? Prepare yourself. And you can prepare at several levels, at customer level, at value level, at capabilities level of your company, working on your own ecosystem and partnership, and even with prices, you can prepare yourself for the risk and uncertainty. So these different levels also address different parts of the business model. So while customer and value is mainly addressing new value propositions, capabilities and ecosystems are related with value creation activities, and prices obviously with value capture. So when we talk about working to prepare ourselves regarding customers, well, you know the saying, the customer always knows best. He is the focus of our business. And there is a lot of truth in this. You can never forget that your business exists because of your customer. So you need to adjust your value proposal to your desires, to the wishes, to the needs of your customers. If you don't, you may have the best product ever, but if you are not addressing your right customer segment, you don't have anything for your company. So when you are innovating, always think about your customer. What does the customer wants and needs? And this means research. You need to know as much as possible about your customer segment. You need to collect data, you need to collect information, you need to do as much research as possible so that all that data and information can support your decision making regarding the innovation in your business model. On the side of the value, how can customer collaborate with you? Well, co-creation is a strategy that you can use. You can engage your own customers on the design of your products so that you are sure that you are delivering something that the customer wants. I can make use of I think the most known example possible of co-creation in a business with the Lego company that has a special um, line where customers can propose new Lego designs and environments to be produced by Lego. So what does Lego do? They take the desires of their clients, they give the clients what they want. So, well, you can adjust. You may not be Lego, may not be a company producing toys, but always listen to your customer and engage your customer in the development of the products that you want to deliver to them. On capabilities, the capabilities of your company. Wow, this is a lot about internal change. It's about building the pool of knowledge and process that your business require for the innovation process. This is about working with your team. It's about creating this mentality and engaging of your team because they are the ones that own the skills, the competences, the knowledges that deal with the processes, that implement and consolidate the processes. So this is all about internal change. And it has a lot to do with the reorganization of activities and resources allocations, with the acquisition of new knowledge to adjust processes or creating new ones. Uh, it's about learning and adjusting. So never forget that innovation inside your company, it's also about engaging all your team in the process of innovating. Another strategy that you can use, that you should use all the time, it's about the engagement and with your ecosystem and the development of your network of partnerships. Partners are an excellent source of information, of uh, um, providing a company tips about new trends, information about what customers want, and this is complementary to the capabilities development inside your companies. Well, still taking the dimensions that we have referred to of our module on business model innovation, well, let's imagine that you are developing your business model, you are innovating your business model to start your internationalization process, and you want to enter new markets. You can do a lot of research about new markets, but what do you think a partner from the country you want to enter can provide you uh, from that country you want to go? Ain't he the right person to give you a deep insight on the cultural issues, on how the market operates, on how customers buy, what are their preferences, what are their tastes? Ain't this partner so valuable for that type of innovation? So always remember that partnerships are very important in a business. Another saying, secret, I forgot the saying. Um, Secret is the soul of the business. Well, I guess that is very wrong. If you want to keep secrets, well, use trademarks, use patents. Don't hide your business from your partners. Engage your partners because they are highly valuable for your business. They can bring you a lot of information and they will for sure help you to reduce the uncertainty you may have about your market and your business. And then finally, about the price, one way of that you may choose to overcome the risk of the entrance of innovation into your market is the adjustment of your prices and your revenue strategies to the new markets so that you can enlarge your market share, compete with new products, and reduce the risk of rejection over the innovation that you might be providing to your market. And then definitely the second biggest challenge, well, not the second biggest, because I wouldn't classify in terms of priority, but complexity of established companies is definitely a big challenge. Also, from my experience, I can tell you it's quite easy to work business model development with startup entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs. They are like an open canvas. They understand very well the business model canvas, the business model concept. They understand what they have to do. They design everything. It's easy to discuss. Well, it's not so easy when we work with business managers. An explanation is quite simple. Well, for entrepreneurs, the business is an open canvas that they are starting to design. For an established company manager, well, they already have such a complex business implemented. And when I say complex business, I'm talking about all the complexity that a business involves, all the components put in place, all the established processes, how everything is already working so fine. So when when I sit with a manager and we start discussing the business model, it's not a blank canvas ready to start building something. He's already thinking about how am I going to organize all this big thing that it is my business in these blocks, in these components. It's not an easy task to do because a business is very complex. It doesn't matter if you are a micro company, a small company, a medium company. There are a lot of things at stake. There are people, there are process, there are departments, there are resources, there are types of relations with customers, there are different types of customers, there are so many things. So it is highly complex. The ecosystem of a established company, an SME. So it's not easy to actually just jump into a business model and let's redo this business model we have, or let's start designing our own business model. But when it comes to innovating business model, it may help to think that, well, there are different phases in the lifetime of a company. And across these different phases, the focus of the management and the team also changes. And according to the focus of the company, so the allocation of the resources and the processes also they adjust to the different phases. And you need to keep this in mind that according to the phase where your company is, your priorities, your capabilities, your resources are on focused on a different area. And only being aware of this, you are able to understand how to adjust your mindset to start thinking about innovating. So on the different phases of the company development, we can group it in three. There are different approaches to different phases, but we can think about three of them. The creation phase, let's put it in a phase of the startup. In the phase of the startup, like we said before, the entrepreneur is focused on the development of their business model, on the development of their assumptions, and the focus is on the customer, on adjusting the value proposition to deliver to the customer. And the connections that are established at this moment, the strongest connections are between the value proposition and the customer segment. Other connections with other components of the business model may already start being established, but they are not consolidated yet. And then as the company grows, it enters the sustainability phase. So that's the moment where you still have your customer in mind, but you are thinking already, you already have your processes, your activities in consolidations, all the connections between all the elements of your business model are already established, everything works fine, and company is growing and is healthy. And then you go into the efficiency phase. And on the efficiency phase, you start forgetting a little bit about your customer and you start thinking about your revenue and your profit. And you start thinking how to do more with less, how to earn more money with efficiency on the use of resources and capabilities inside your company. So that's the moment when you are start talking, thinking about business model innovation, when you need to put your mind back again on your customer segment. So some tips to deal with the complexity. Well, as I said before, it is highly important that you understand the phase of development of your company, and you need to understand at every single stage that your customer needs to be your focus. You cannot have a business if you don't have your mind on your customer. Second, the engagement of all your team. They are highly important for the innovation process. When you change any component of your business model, there is a high possibility of this change affecting every other component. Well, thinking in terms of your own company, uh, you can implement one innovation that affects, let's say, a process inside one department, but there is high possibility that that change will affect all the other departments, all the processes inside all the other departments. So if the team is not aligned, it may mean that one department may not be responding according to the necessary answer for the innovation that you are implementing to be successful. More, every single person inside your company, from every single department, from the frontline staff to the top management, are potential disruptors, innovators. They are very rich sources of potential innovation for your own company. I remember talking one day with a friend of mine, and we were discussing about innovation inside his own company and the innovation process inside his own company. And he was surprised with me when I told him, why don't you talk with staff from the operations line um, to understand how you can innovate? I was asking, but why? Well, they are the ones that on a daily basis work on the operational line. They are on they are the ones dealing with all the production. So I'm quite sure that better than you, any one of those persons can tell you how to change the processes in order for your company to be more effective and efficient at the level of the production. And this is innovation. Hmm, I guess you are right. Yes, everyone in the company can provide you tips, can give you ideas to innovate, either in products, process, anything that makes your company work better. And one thing very important, don't force innovation to fit your company business model just because. In Portugal, we have kind of a name for this. It's like the theory of the hammer and the nail. And that means that trying to force something to fit in a place that it doesn't fit. So be careful when you are thinking about the innovation, and don't try to impose and introduce one innovation that does not suit your business. Once again, as I said before, one possibility is to create another business unit to follow with that type of innovation that you are considering. but don't force one innovation that does not suit your business because you might be putting your business at risk. And then finally, we follow to a topic that I really like. And unfortunately, for what I've been seeing, companies are not very aware about this. It is about the learning and the knowledge inside companies. Companies are so rich in terms of knowledge. Inside companies, there is this huge pool of knowledge, know-how, experience inside each person. Even failure provides knowledge and learning inside a company. And most of the companies, because they are not aware of the importance of this capital, they don't manage it. Well, but business model and business model innovation is a lot about experimenting and learning. And that's why we cannot talk about business model innovation without talking about learning processes and how the learning process happen in the business model innovation process. So there are two types of learning. You can either learn through experimentation or you can learn in terms of business model innovation through research. With experimentation, you make use of your experience, of your existing knowledge to adjust your business model. And let's be honest, unless you are a young entrepreneur, you have a huge amount of experience that you put in place to think about your business model innovation. Uh, but experimentation is a lot about acting. It's about the action. Experiment and learn when you are testing your assumptions. You are validating. So you are more about doing and uh, see the feedback you collect when you are designing your business model. And the other approach is about research. Well, it's about collecting data, collecting information, thinking about designing the business model based on assumptions, putting all the required resources and competencies together, and then go and test it and pass it to the action. So this gives us two different approaches. You can either start with experimentation and then go to research. I mean, first you act, you make use of your own experience, and you act to test and validate your assumptions, and then you collect the information and do your research and you consolidate your business model innovation, or you start with your research. You collect all the data and information to form your business model innovation, and then you go and act to test your assumptions. Well, once again, I think as a young entrepreneurs, well, it's quite easy to think they first do the research and then they go to the field and test it. For established companies with experienced managers, this difference is not so big. Both of these approaches exist in the development of business model. It doesn't matter if you are more prone to experimentation or more careful and you prefer to research first and then go and experiment. The truth is that when you are developing your business model, you need to make use of both of them. But as established company, the two of them blend together. There is not such a big distance between experimenting and researching and experimenting. It's more an iterative process. So please keep in mind, manage your knowledge, manage your experience, all the pool of knowledge and know-how existing inside your company, inside every single person of your company to support your business model innovation. Well, and to conclude this webinar, I'd like to leave you with some tips and recommendations, some wrap up of what we've been discussing before, and to keep in mind when you are developing your business model and innovating your business model. First of all, always keep your customers in mind. Always think on their needs, on their desires when you are innovating your business model. Second, never forget the external forces. You are operating in a complex market, in a fast changing market. You are not an island, you are not working alone, and your environment influences your business model. You need to know and be always aware of all the changes in the market so that you can react or act before the changes happen and to be more prone to succeed with your business model innovation. Always look for data and information. Your experience, your internal knowledge, the knowledge that comes from your partnership is highly valuable, but there are so many sources of important information that can support your decision making. Make use of them. Combine all your internal knowledge and skills and know-how with all the data and information that you can collect to support your decision making. Engage all your staff in the innovation process. You will not only find out that anyone can be a potential innovator, any person can surprisingly be the one giving you the perfect idea for the innovation of your company, but you will also have more committed staff. Uh, you will have people that working for your company that identifies themselves with their company, that feels good in their working place because they are listened, their opinion matters, and therefore you will have a stronger team working and align it with your compromise of innovating your company. When you are willing to innovate and you are working for the innovation of company, you need every single person from your company to be on your side, not creating obstacles. So engage all your staff in your innovation process for your business model innovation. Debate ideas and scenarios. You know, the risk and uncertainty, so many options. There are so many paths that one company can follow. Gather your team, gather a group of multidisciplinary staff, and discuss with them all the possibilities, what can happen, all the scenarios. Never forget financial analysis. Yeah, you are in the business to make money, and innovation will come with costs. So you need to make sure that you are prepared for the implications in terms of costs, in terms of financial consequences for the decisions that you make. More, when you are designing your business model, always make use of all other management tools. And the financial tools can be very interesting to use when you are developing your business model, because you can find gaps or opportunities or mistakes that you had not found when you are designing the business model. And then when you are making your analysis and looking for your financial tools, then you can identify those same mistakes. One simple example, let's say you are redesigning the set of resources, and you are considering that for the innovation that you are implementing, you require a certain amount of new people with new skills. And the moment you look at your financial tables, you understand that all those people, all and new skills that you are going to hire represent such a high cost, but in fact, they are not needed full time. Uh, this is a simple example that I have in mind from a recent experience with an entrepreneur, and where all the financial tables were very useful to show him the mistakes on the design of his business model. The connections between all the components. All your business model blocks, all your business model components need to work all together perfectly well. All the connections between all the components need to be perfect and in harmony. If they are not, something wrong is with your business model and something may fail. Again, make use of all your internal and external partnerships. And the great thing about business models is that they are not business plans. So they are supposed to be a very simple and practical tool for you to use in your business management. So revisit your business model as much as possible. If you need to revisit, to look at it, to think on your business model and on what's happening in the external environment, how your business is performing. And if you need to do it every single month, you do it every single month, because it is such a practical tool. This does not aim to be a beautiful document. This aims to be a practical tool, so you can act fast and change and adjust to the changes in the environment. And make sure that for each phase of your business model and your business development, you are using the right metrics to measure the performance. Finally, never forget what is the mission of your company. If you are innovating your business model, if your innovation is not in accordance with the mission of your company, you are not bringing anything of value to your company. You may, in fact, be putting at risk the company. So always make sure that the your business model innovation is aligned with your company's mission. Thank you very much for all your attention. It was a pleasure to share a little bit of knowledge and points of view with you. If you have any questions, any doubts, any comments, please feel free to contact us. Thank you very much.